Good evening, YouTube. Welcome to the first episode of a series I'm going to be doing every week called Pick 5. I'm going to go over 5 things every week that I think can help you with your playing, help you with your live performance, help you with your technique, things like that. This first episode of Pick 5, I'm going to go over 5 things that can get you out of a rut. Let's start with defining a rut. What is a rut? Well, deer do it, but it could be something where you're getting bored playing the same licks. It could be you're getting bored playing the same songs. Maybe you feel like you're doing the same patterns over and over when you're writing songs with chord progressions and things like that. So a rut could be anything where you feel like you're not growing, you're not learning new stuff, you're not really advancing, and you're just getting bored. Number 1, first thing that I think can help you get out of a rut is if you're not a fingerstyle player, try using a different pick. If you normally use a short, thick pick like this, try using a larger, thinner pick, maybe like a Fender Medium or a yellow Dunlop Tortex. If you usually use a sharp point, try using a more rounded edge. Try do a Scott Henderson style. Try playing with the pick upside down. It gets a lot of a rounder attack. That'll help you change your sound a little bit, and you might develop a picking technique that you hadn't thought of before because it just wasn't possible. And then you might switch back to your original pick, and you've picked up some new techniques along the way. Number 2, try transcribing something that isn't guitar music. What do I mean by transcribing if you're a newer player? Transcribing doesn't mean writing it down. It means figuring it out. If you want to write it down after you figure it out, that's fine. You want to record it after you figure it out, that's fine. Transcribing just means figuring out a part. Sorry, I had an itch on my leg. It means figuring out something on the guitar so you can play it. So if you normally play, rock music, maybe pick out a saxophone solo or a saxophone melody from a pop song or a jazz tune or something like that, and try and learn that on guitar. And you might find some phrases that because they weren't in your comfort zone with your finger patterns, you hadn't thought of playing them before. It might get you outside of your comfort zone. Number 3. This one sounds kind of weird when I say it, so I'll explain after I say it. Try playing a half step away, either up or down. So if you're really new, a half step would just be 1 fret. Right there, that's a half step. And this is a half step down. Also a minor second. Try playing a half step away from your comfortable positions. You might come up with some cool chord voicings you hadn't thought of before, and it might force you to develop some different lines and licks when you're playing lead parts. So for example, if you're normally playing that normal open C chord there, try moving up to C sharp, and then you have to adjust your fingering of that chord because you can't rely on those open strings. But then you can play something like this. Or if you're normally here and you go up to C sharp, you could play something like... You just get that weird, that dissonance between the E and the F that you can't get really from that position. If you play along to backing tracks, if you work on improvisation a lot, and you feel like you keep doing the same moving up and down the fingerboard positions, you want to break out of that type of a rut, try soloing over a backing track and don't change positions at all. So if you're playing in A minor, stay in 5th position the whole time and see what kind of patterns arpeggios that you can come up with in that position, and it'll sort of, the restriction, we're talking about expanding things, right? Getting out of the rut, but the restriction of staying in the one position could lead you to figure out some cool arpeggios or something you hadn't thought of before. Number 5. That looks weird because I'm holding the pick in my hand. Number 5. The 5th thing you can try to get out of a rut is learn some other guitar styles. If you normally are a rock player, you'd probably play some bluesy stuff, but maybe you don't get too jazzy, or you don't delve into any classical. And by classical, I don't mean you have to play classical guitar with classical guitar technique, but you could listen to a classical piece and pick out a section of that piece and try and figure it out on guitar. You could, if you're a metal player, try playing some country, and you'll have to pick up on little techniques and chord progressions and things that you're not familiar with, and it can help break you out of that rut. Thank you for joining me for this first episode of Pick 5. I really had a good time doing it. I'll be doing more of these. I'll try and get out one a week. Stay tuned, because not all of the things I came up with made the cut for the video. Number 1, try playing the guitar upside down. Oh, Jim, you mean like Jimi Hendrix, right? Like, try playing the guitar flipped around this way, or Albert King. Albert King actually played with the strings on upside down as well. No. Upside down. Try playing the guitar upside down. So, put your guitar on this. Try and, you could sort of, like this. You're going to really figure out some scale patterns that are outside of the realm of normal guitar thinking. And you might come up with some cool tones like these for later. Number 2, only play the note C sharp. Oh, too much vibrato. Number 3, punch a stranger in the face and run away quickly. Number 4, play video games instead of practicing the guitar. The guitar is hard, and it's challenging and frustrating. Number 5, if you're really in a rut, buy a new amp. Well, what if I don't have a lot of money? Steal some, rob a bank. You could borrow it from a bank at a high interest rate. And when I say buy a new amp, I don't mean like this Blackstar practice amp I'm using. Buy a Soldano SLO 100, a brand new one with some custom options. You know, or maybe you could buy a Friedman. Something to just, get you out of the rut for a couple weeks.